Just a quick one on the updates of the ASU strike. We're all aware that ASU has been on strike for some months now. And the issues broadly can be divided into two broad categories. Their incomes, wages, and salaries on the one hand. And on the other hand, there's the system of payment by which they should be paid their salaries and their allowances. As for the first part of it, people should realize that we in the Ministry of Labour, we are not the employers of members of ASU. The employer of members of ASU is the Ministry of Education. And so the Ministry of Education at some point took over the negotiation. We were just conciliators at the level of the Ministry of Labour. I hear a lot of people say that, oh, well, what are we doing? What are we not doing? We are not the employers. We are just conciliators. We intervene to try and settle both sides of the dispute. However, the Ministry of Education at a point set up a small committee within the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education set up what they call the Nimi Briggs Committee, Professor Nimi Briggs Committee, to receive the complaints of ASU and then look into those complaints and see how those complaints could be accommodated within the framework of the finances of government. Now, when this committee began to sit with ASU, there were other critical institutions of government that should have been at that meeting. National Income and Wages Salaries Commission, National Salaries and Income and Wages Commission, Budget Office of the Federation, Head of Service of the Federation, Ministry of Finance. ASU at some point objected to these critical stakeholders sitting down with them. They said they were not cooperating with them. Well, how can you sit down with the Ministry of Education without those holding the pulse of government, without those who know the rules as to how public officers should be paid? How can you sit down with them and fix your own salaries? Well, that was what ASU did originally with the Nimi Briggs Committee. They sat down, fixed their own salaries and allowances with the Ministry of Education without these other critical stakeholders. And guess what happened? At the end of the exercise, what did we come to? ASU now put their percentage of their salary, some increase as to more than 100% to 100 and something percent. It now came up to an additional 560 billion naira on top of the normal 412 billion that the federal government was already paying for using to pay their salaries and their emoluments. They added another 560 billion to that bill. And then that does not even include things like their hazard allowance and all those other little allowances. All those allowances also came to another additional 170 billion. And so the entire bill came up to 1.2 trillion or thereabouts. Meanwhile, you had before, even before this situation, a situation where the federal government was already spending 50% of its overheads on salaries to pay them. That was the previous bill, 50% of its overheads regarding salaries and emoluments to pay university teachers their wages and allowances. So what the federal government did when they brought this, proposal from the Nimi Briggs Committee, they said, well, this is unrealistic. You know what? You need to bring in other... They still went back to the same position where they had to bring in other critical stakeholders. National Income and Wages and Salaries Commission, Ministry of Finance, Budget Office of the Federation, Head of Service. They sat down again to look at all of this. And that was, led by the Office of the Chief of Staff. So all of them, they have looked at this again. They have looked at all of this and said, look, it's unrealistic. Because you now have the non-academic staff. They are also warming up to say, if you answer them, if you answer ASU, we will also go on strike. You also have the polytechnic teachers, polytechnic lecturers and college of education say that if you answer ASU, we are also going to join. So it's going to set off a chain of reaction that we cannot stop. And as so let me just give you the grim picture of what we face. In 2023, the projection for 2023 is that the total income of government will be about 6.1 trillion. Subsidy alone will go up 6.3. In other words, subsidy will be more than even the total income of the federal government in 2023. So where do we go from here? And we have only one component. It's a critical component, I do accept, education. But one component placing this kind of burden on the federal purse. It's not just possible. So when they are looking at it again, and they are going to submit their, this other expanded committee will submit their, report to the federal government. But on the other issue of the system of payment, we all know that they came up with their own system, that the old system, the GPMI system, was fraught with fraud. And we know that with this kind of critical financial situation we are facing, we need to make sure we clean up our system of payment. ASU said no, that they are above the law. They will not join other people, other public servants in going through that system, that they want to develop their own system. Federal government said, okay, develop your own system. They developed what they call the Utah system. Federal government took it to NITDA, which is the agency, that ensures the sanctity of some of these things. They took it to NITDA. They, subjected it to test, and he failed the test. The stress test and all of that, he failed it. Meanwhile, the non-academic staff are saying, no, we will not even go with the Utahs that ASU is developing. We are going to develop our own UPPPS system. How can you have a government with all parts, all different type of their employees developing their own system by which they will pay themselves? Which government will accept that? But despite all of that, the government was still patient enough to say, okay, you know what? Despite the fact that I failed this, stress system, go back again to NITDA. Go back. Subject all of this to test again. The UPPS, the UTAS, the IPPS, subject all to test. The federal government is still very patient with ASU. And then when you go through all of this, come back again with a report to see whether we can give them another chance for this thing to pass through a stress test. But for the federal government to go ahead and start paying salaries and incomes and all that with a system that is not reliable, that is public money paid like that without a system that can be relied upon. It will be an irresponsible government that will do that. That is where we are, in brief, Seun.
Yeah, fellow countrymen and women, I'm here to address you once again in the course of our nation history and to react specifically to Keyamo's myopic, porous, parochial, and intellectually stagnant interview on Channels TV. I mean, that is shameful, very, very embarrassing, and a disgrace to his children, because a man like Keyamo will open his gutters and talk to the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, one single Nigerian with multiple competencies, a man indoctrinated with the act of civil administration and the rudiment of politics, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Keyamo's inactive ministerial sojourn is affecting his medulla oblongata, because if he has succeeded as a minister, he won't be talking the way he's talking. Ask Nigerians today, what portfolio is Keyamo holding? Many Nigerians will tell you, we don't even know the ministry where Keyamo is working, because he's redundant, he's inactive, he is not visible, and he has been completely consumed by the aura of Ngige, his superior minister. And because he has failed as a minister, because he's inactive as a minister, because he is not visible as a minister, because he's not known as a minister, he is mistaking his redundant office of Minister of State, for the office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No Nigerian who is educated, who is intellectually okay, who is mentally fit, will insult the office of, or abuse the office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because what he has attacked is not Atiku Abubakar. Is the office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is a constitutional office and number 2 office in this country. Because Keyamo is a commercialized conscience, because he has monetized his life, that is why he will not understand that the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria have some ministries, agencies, and parastatals of government under his direct supervision and overview and oversight. That is why he will not know that the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria presides over the Federal Executive Council meetings in the absence of the President. That is why he will not know that in the absence of the President, the Vice President actually is the acting President with executive powers anytime the President is not in the country. So what he has done is that he has abused the office of the Vice President of Nigeria as a lawyer who understands the constitutionality of that office, who understand the enormous responsibilities of that office. anyone who is a vice president is fit to be a president. And again, will Keyamo now say that he's also writing off the business success or the success of Atiku Abubakar in the corporate world? Will Keyamo also say that Atiku have not succeeded internationally as a businessman? Will Keyamo now say that the experience of Atiku in the manufacturing sector, in the banking sector, in logistics, in humanities, in banking, in aviation, what sector has Atiku not succeeded? A vice president after 20 years, understand, who left office in 2007, is still moving like a sitting vice president. All his staff intact till today. A man with such phenomenal capacity, with corporate experience, you just want to sit down because either you are acting under sekpe or you are acting under the influence of marijuana. You just smoke your janjaweed and you think you open your mouth and talk because you are defending a man who takes more drugs than food today. It is unfortunate that Keyamo, who I question is senior advocate of Nigeria, because nobody who was properly taught, who is properly brought up, will sit down and renegade the office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and even a lawyer for that matter. It's a shame, Keyamo, and I'm challenging you to a debate. You are just talking babbladash. You are talking rubbish. But I want to assure you that Nigerians know who you are. Nigerians know that you are a commercialized character. You are a failed politician. You have never won, Keyamo never won an election, even in the primaries, not to talk of a general election. You have never won an election in your life. You have never been a councillor. You have never been a member of the House of Assembly. You don't even understand the rudiments of politics and democracy. So you are unfit, incompetent to discuss democracy, politics, not to talk of our highly respected Atiku Abubakar. But this is not a day to talk. I challenge you to a debate, and when we sit down, then I will break you like this, break you into pieces. Unfortunately, I'm doing this over social media, but I wait for an invitation by Sheung or any other platform to sit down with you so that I will expose your ignorance and I will expose you to Nigerians and know how empty you are. Very, very, very unfortunate. Whether you like it or not, you cannot take the credit, the experience of Atiku Abubakar away from him. Even you say Atiku Abubakar have no experience. Atiku Abubakar is running for the presidency, not for the second time or third time. So he understands his roots better than the political virgin, Tinubu, that you are supporting, who is running for presidency for the first time and sees it as his life entitlement and sees it as his retirement benefits for supporting Buhari. But Atiku is running on his credentials. He's not running because of entitlement. He's not running because of his support for any party. He's running because he's got the credentials, and he is a team player. He is a talent hunter. He is a leader par excellence. He has the rudiment of civil administration and the rudiment of politics. And I want to tell you, Keyamo, enough is enough. If not, that young way say go mature. Now there we go eat you.